Welcome, everybody. We're excited to be here. My name is Dan Lust. I'm the commissioner of the International Arena League. I'm sitting alongside Coach Philip Garcia, who's going to be the coach of the Glasgow Tartans. Really excited for you to get to hear from him. And next to him, we have our first player for the team. This is Sean Dickey. You'll hear from him as well. We're going to give you a little bit of a background into the league. I know you're all excited to hear about it. There's been a lot of questions that we've gotten online. And certainly lovely to be here in Glasgow. Behind us, we have a video demonstration for you to see a little bit about the league, the sport. I'm sure you'll have questions about the rules, the history of arena football. Obviously, people are still getting comfortable overseas with American football. This is the next level of American football, that's arena football. Confident that you'll see it's a different sport entirely. While it is football, while there are running plays, passing plays, defensive backs, offensive line, and quarterbacks, the scoring, the rules, it's a very different game. So really excited to educate you on that. For background, again, my name is Dan Lust. I'm based in New York. We have people that work for our International Arena League across the globe. This is really the first endeavor that's tried to do anything of this sort. 5 teams in the US, 5 teams in Europe. Certainly there's been a long history of arena football, and I'm sure there will be questions for that, but those have largely been stateside. No one has tried this endeavor to have teams in the U.S. And in Europe, but we're excited to introduce you to that. So with that said, I'll explain a little bit. I'll help break down the video, but I don't think I'm doing it justice without showing you what arena football is. So without further ado, quick video, and then we'll have a little bit more for you guys.
This is what happens when you take one vision and build it on an international stage. 10 teams. 2 continents, 1 game that's faster, closer, and more explosive than anything you've seen before. This is arena football, and we're taking it global. High-intensity action, intimate, in-your-face competition, non-stop scoring that keeps you on the edge of your seat. It's football at its most raw and electric. Teams from North America and Europe will battle through a grueling season, all leading to one destination, Las Vegas. 5 weeks, double elimination, a tournament where only the strongest survive. The last team standing walks away with $2 million and etches their name in history as the true world champions. And their fans, they win too, with renewed season tickets for the following year. The love is real, the competition is real, and the stakes have never been higher. This is the International Arena League, arena football's quest to find the best in the world. We just want to know who's the best.
So again, I'm sure there'll be questions. You saw some of this in the video. We're excited to announce this. So today, we're doing basically 10 of these globally. Trying to do these all around 2-3 local time right in the middle of the day so we can make a nice big splash. But in Europe, we're happy to announce, obviously we're here in Glasgow. There will be teams in Nottingham, England, in Zurich, Switzerland, and 2 teams in Germany, Stuttgart and Dusseldorf. Certainly, we understand there is a history of American football generally in Europe, but we're obviously excited to bring that flavor of American football and obviously arena football to Glasgow, Scotland, which we think has been underserved in that market. So this league has been in the works for, I'd say, probably 2 years in the planning phase, picking out markets that made sense kind of conceptually, where maybe there was an appetite for football and maybe where we think there can be one. So in addition to those 5 teams in Europe, I mentioned we have, you saw behind us, we have a team in Vegas, we have a team in Arizona, we have a team in Salt Lake City, Utah, Cincinnati, Ohio, and Reading, Pennsylvania. Those teams are being staffed by Arena League veterans and obviously some NFL players. So we have kind of a mix of American football, American arena football. And as you're going to hear today, the coaches that we are staffing up for our arena teams have a mix of American arena football and Europe football, and just generally European football. So Coach Philip Garcia is going to be able to speak to that. But all in, we're super excited to be here, super excited to kick this off. schedule. Our home openers are April 18th. It's a season's really over the course of 15 weeks. So it's middle of April all the way through July. And then we have our playoffs. Essentially, top teams from our 5 European clubs, top teams from our 5 American clubs will all fly out to Vegas for our championship. As you saw in the video, it's a $2 million cash prize to the winning team. But we're pretty confident that this has not been done. It hasn't been done to this extent. So really excited to make a big splash today globally. So yeah, I could talk on for hours and hours, but I'm going to hand it over to Coach to speak a little bit about his background, where he's coming from, his track record of success in Europe, and the types of players he's trying to target. And again, probably the biggest message today for our audience in Glasgow and for our media here in attendance, we want to recruit locally. We want this team not to be a bunch of imports from America, and Europe is okay, but we're not going to have an international league if we're just importing Americans that have played football. That's to no one's benefit. So I want to hand it to Coach. Coach, I want you to, the floor is yours. I'll stop talking again. I can talk all day.
Hello. Well, once again, like Dan said, my name is Philip Garcia. I'm a former player in Europe. I coach. I've been everywhere. I understand what the European players are like. And like you said, coming to Glasgow, it's going to be fun. I'm looking for guys from the Pirates and other places throughout Scotland to represent the Glasgow Tartans. Yep.
Yeah. So again, we're no strangers to it. And again, happy to answer questions to the extent we have them. This is, I think, a really strong time for our league to be starting. We're aware of the, we'll say the opportunity is right from some leagues that might not be having games this year. So just the timing worked out. Arena has existed for decades in America, and there's no reason it can't be brought here. We're sitting, in the lovely Greyhead Arena. We see ice hockey all around in America. These arena league football teams share space with basketball teams, with hockey teams, and it's the same space, same dimensions. As you saw, we had on this lovely video over here, it's a fast-hitting sport. So, Sean, I'm going to give it to you in a second. We want players, we want athletes that have a history with American football. To the extent that we just have athletes that want to learn the game, we're okay with that too. It's not a hard sport to pick up, but it's a heavy sport. It resembles hockey with the type of contact that you have. In American football, you can have a nice, clean play where a guy runs out of bounds, the play's over, right? Same thing with soccer or football, as you guys like to call it. You don't have that in arena football. Every play that involves a boundary is a violent play. Football is a violent sport. Arena is played at a much higher level. And the condensed action leads to much higher scores, more resembling a basketball game. You can have scores that are 70 to 63. You don't have scores that are 14 to 7, or I guess the soccer equivalent of 2 to 1, right? You have big, high-scoring games, fast-paced action. A lot of the players will play both ways. In American football, it's a little bit different, but more like soccer. You have to play offense and defense, not specialized. So Sean, I had the pleasure of meeting for the first time today. The first thing he told me, I said he looked like a giant hockey player. He told me, well, he does like to hit people, and he's a very violent individual, which I think is good, right? So Sean, I don't know if you prepared anything, but I'd love to hear about your kind of your role in football overseas and kind of your plans for this league.
Yeah, so I played football for 4 years now. Got into the sport because I like going to the gym, really. That's my main thing. When my friends were, they're quite athletic, come along, started playing, and I loved it. Got background in just like normal football and stuff like that. So yeah, been playing for East Kilbride Pirates in the Premiership division, which has been brilliant. Coaching and the setup there are phenomenal. Like, got to play with a great group of guys, and yeah, taught me really the fundamentals of football, how to be a player, and like the next level of like the strength and conditioning that it takes to play American football. Didn't emphasise that enough, that if you are like a big dude and you like physicality, it's definitely a sport you should all try out, because it's fast-paced action, and the feeling of running someone over is phenomenal, and the feeling of getting run over is awful. But as they say, you gotta get people more than you get got. So I'd emphasize that. But yeah, great sport.
I feel like you're a good person to have on your team. If you're on the other team, you gotta watch that.
Hopefully so.
Okay, I don't have anything else. Coach, you have anything else before we kick it out for questions?
Nope.
Okay. Happy if there are any questions. Okay. Get in the front row.
Commissioner, just for fans in Scotland who may be new to the arena football, how would you explain what makes the game different from traditional American outdoor football?
I think that's a great question. So, obviously, I think part of the reason that we think the timing is right to come overseas is because of all the investments the NFL has made in doing international games on a much more frequent basis. For people, and again, my endeavor into arena football for this league, and I was telling Coach on the way over here, I was not aware of how many American football leagues there were over here. And I think that the growth of American football is really running parallel to the investment the NFL has made in coming overseas and teaching the game. We have, to the question, we've hired a director of European player personnel, an individual named Alonzo Barrett, who's been running American football camps here for years. So I think there's an understanding, as Sean said, it's a violent sport, right? We understand that people watch and people understand the NFL teams. Arenas are very different. It's more fast-paced, right? Even if you just look at the dimensions of what we had on the board, it's a much smaller dimensions, put it that way. So for someone like Sean, I like his comments. They're all about being violent with people and going to the gym. It is a thinking man's game as well. You have to find space in the defense. But I'd say, as I kind of noted before, it's the high-scoring nature. It's very different. You're not going to have low-scoring games, and you can't really hide defenders. So it's a very narrow and constrained space. So there are plays in modern NFL football where a guy will go untouched into the end zone just because of the nature and the dimensions of the field, which is more resembling of a soccer field, right? The 11v11 nature of a soccer field is what American football is. It's also 11 on 11. Much tighter constraints, and so you need to have just kind of a different player. So you can kind of get away, not that I'm picking on Sean here, but in American football, you need speed, right? Or else you're going to get killed on a big field like that. But in an arena football, it's less about speed and more about physicality because of the nature of the dimensions. It's a good question, though. In the back, yeah.
What would the recruitment process look like for you guys? So obviously you get like the combine and then how are you going to recruit people in Scotland?
Yeah, so I'll take it, and then Coach, you should weigh in as well about some of the tryouts. But we're really making it a point. We've gotten a lot of questions similar, like, are we going to have caps in the amount of American players that can come overseas? And there have been endeavors to try this. I think Coach and I were talking about, there was a Chinese league that tried to do this a couple years ago, and they may have relied too heavily on American players being brought overseas. So we understand from a fan perspective, for local ties to the market, we're only going to be as successful as we have players that fans are invested in. So Coach, just like he found Sean, right? He's been recruiting players for years here. So that's our goal, right? And from an operational perspective, it doesn't make sense from a cost perspective to be bringing in all those American players anyway. We want to grow football in this space. So Coach, I'll give it to you. We have some big things in the works with that.
When it comes to the tryouts, we host 2 or 3 trials, try to get as many of the local football players to come out to see who is ready to step up to the plate. I'm not just going to take anybody who says they play football. That's not going to happen. We want the guys, kind of like Sean, at the tryout, guys who are physical, violent, and want to help the game grow over here in Glasgow.
Would you have like sort of practice squads for people that are maybe just not quite there, but never worked with the guys?
I will get a few guys on the practice squad to also help develop, just in case one of the starters or someone goes down, that practice player can just step in and you don't miss a beat.
And I'll speak to that too, without getting too far into specifics. The goal is for our league, we want to cover housing for a good amount of the players. We're trying to figure out the specifics on that end. So, where there are some leagues that don't cover any type of expenses like that, and maybe don't pay as much funds, as Coach can speak to, and without saying anything specific, Sean can speak to as well. We think the package that we're offering is very we'll say, much more advantageous than other arena football leagues of this sort. And then, candidly, this is a professional league. By and large, American football being played overseas, not all leagues, but is more on the amateur side. So we're paying money, right? This is a different level of professional status, and we want to recruit athletes. And I know we keep saying the word violent. We're not looking for like violent people, but football is a contact-based sport. So, again, there's a learning process. As coach can subscribe to, right? These are clips that date back decades and decades. So as much as we want to find the athletes, we need to have people that understand and can appreciate the sport that is arena football. So it's also going to require some learning. So as much as we want to recruit people that are athletes, we want to recruit people that understand and have some knowledge for arena football and a thirst to learn the game. Go ahead.
One question I'd like to ask you guys about, obviously a new sport coming down the country like this, you want the fans to come out and grow the sport. Is what kind of research have you started ticket pricing for? Because I feel like season tickets, the lowest price is £42 a game. So bringing fans to a new sport, considering the prices of other sports in Scotland, that is at the high end of the bracket. What research and decision making about the prices of tickets?
The question is just like, how are we deciding how to price tickets? It's a fair question. I mean, and it's kind of to a larger point. We want to make sure, we want to get fans in. We want fans to fall in love with the arena, and then ticket prices can be adjusted, right, based on demand. That's kind of how it works. And not that I'm, some of our arena partners are here, and I'm not kicking the question to them because they're not ready to answer that, but we want to make sure we have butts in the seats. And but we're being realistic. And I told Coach when we signed Coach up initially, we have to set expectations appropriately for a sport that has not been played in Scotland. So if we say, if I sat in the press conference and I said, we want to sell out every single game on every night, and we have we have dates we put in the calendar, but we know that we're not going to have sellouts on day one, right? We want to bring people in, and we're obviously here at Greyhead, which is right in the mall. I mean, there's a ton of foot traffic here, so we want people to be understanding of the sport. We want people to be intrigued at the curiosity, and that word of mouth can come. So I can't really speak to how other things are priced locally, but we want to be pricing in such a way to get people in, and that it's not so disadvantageous that we're pricing ourselves out of new fans. So, we love, to the extent there are new media ventures, podcasts, shows, media outlets that are trying to find a new sport, a new niche. I think this is it. So we want people curious, we want people coming out, and hopefully people, give us a chance. And it's obviously a growing sport here, but yeah, we want to do everything in our power to get fans in the seats. Any other questions?
I'll just follow up on it. What can fans expect at the games? Obviously about with the actual sport itself, so like the hospitality side of things, like is it going to be similar to the fan, the hockey experience? So what else does fans expect at the games?
I think it's fair. I mean, and again, this probably hasn't come up yet. Listen, we're sitting here in Glasgow. We see the Clan signage everywhere. Clearly, they've done a really good job. The team's been around. We were talking to, we obviously did our homework on coming to Scotland. But the Clan's been around for 20 years. We walked around. We saw all the facilities, all the amenities. The locker room is going to be we have about 20 guys on the roster. The hockey team has about, 15, 20 guys, the amount of coaches. So like from an infrastructure standpoint, it makes sense for us. So the Clan has been very successful here. So we want, as much as we can, follow in their lead. But we are trying to centralize a lot of our marketing. So where arena leagues have failed in the past, and this is unique to our model, but usually in American sports that people are familiar with, there is what we call a franchise model, where every team is basically run independently, and then they're kind of a part of the larger pie. So we are, for lack of a better term, really run through our league office in Las Vegas, and we want to make sure that we're only as strong as our weakest link. So we have a director of fan engagement that is based in Vegas. That we're going to have our local GM that we're in the process of retaining. So to the extent we have any local business leaders that have experience in sales and sponsorships, we're looking to hire someone to be boots on the ground in Scotland, alongside coach and our players, to help find the right sponsors, to help engage with the right type of fan activations. But that's really unique to our league. We are kind of training our staff from Vegas to find what works in the arena model. And obviously, what works in the arena model is also, you would think, what works in hockey stadiums and basketball, arenas. I apologize. But we're actively, as Coach said, we're right now, Coach is dropping in DMs left and right. He's trying to find players up and down. We're doing the same thing on a business standpoint to try to find the right GM, to bring in the right sponsorships and sales to make sure our team is as successful as possible, both from fan attendance and also the right sponsors and corporate partnerships being built. That was a good question, though. I was told to say that today.
Question for yourself. What makes arena football such a fast-paced and exciting game, especially for fans when you see it for the very first time?
What makes it a fast-paced game? Shorter field. Not as wide, very narrow. The ball has to come out of the quarterback's hands quicker. Receivers have to make their breaks faster. The impact of the walls is just so exciting.
There's a lot of violence still.
It's a lot of violence.
Sean's excited.
But just the fact that the players can actually interact with the fans at the same time. So as American football, the sidelines, you have the sidelines, coaching staff, so forth, the other players, and you have the fans, which are probably 10 meters away. Here in arena football, the fans are right there on the sideline. So for a player to get hit or jump off the wall, however it may be, they're right there with the fans.
Can I say something that's interesting on that? Yes, like, you go to a 11-11 soccer game or American football, there are like some bad seats that you really can't have any concept of where first down line is, or you're in the wrong vantage point, right? In arena football, because it's so condensed, there is no bad seat in the entire house. So, you could sit on an American football stadium and be on one side of the end zone, or you're sitting behind the goalie in a soccer game, and you have no concept of what's happening on the other side of the field. Like, you might as well be at home and watching on HDTV because no concept of what's happening. Arena is very different. Basically every seat is right in the middle of the action. You have balls. If there's a missed pass, the ball's going into the stands, right? Within American football or soccer, probably more common in soccer, but American football, balls don't go into the crowd unless there's a kind of a really errant throw or a really bad kick. But I mean, as someone that's gone to arena games, the ball's in the crowd a lot. So for fan engagement purposes, you have to be on your toes. It's very similar to baseball for our American fans or cricket. Balls are popping in the stands a good amount, so you kind of have to be on your toes. It's not a sport where you could just sit on your phone in the front row and expect to not get hit in the face or something. Hockey is probably similar too. Go ahead.
What's the sort of short-term goals or long-term goals of the league and the team, the Glasgow Tartans? Also, is there any plans to maybe live stream games on YouTube or socials at all?
It's a good question. I told you that would be yes, right? I did know that one.
I've been planning to get by
Yeah, the plan is to live stream the games. We're looking for kind of a more formal partner to the extent we need to do it through YouTube. That can be explored. We're trying, to get this as big as we can. But, we're trying to get into the question that was asked earlier. We're trying to be realistic on expectations, right? Our goal, and I know what you asked for, expectations long-term and short-term. Our goal, long-term or short-term, is that year 2 of this league is better than year 1. So I'm not setting any expectations for year 1, but some of these leagues, right, they don't get to year 2. So if we're just focused on going gangbusters for year 1, that's too short-sighted. We're not trying to do that. We're in it for the long term, and the goal is, right, to have our year 2 be better than year 1 and our year 3 to be better than year 2. We're trying to look ahead and be mindful of that. So we have had the conversation in its initial iteration. There were more teams considered, a larger number, but we wanted to be compact, make sure that we were a solid base and expand from there. You can talk about NHL hockey or NFL football, NBA. All those obviously started with a much smaller market, and they expanded as they saw fit. So, long term, if we're talking way down the line, we envision expansion into further markets. But for the time being, we just want to make sure we are driving interest in a really organic way to arena football in Scotland and across the world. But again, it's exciting in this day and age of sport where everything's already been done, and you're looking at the sequel and the rematch and the grudge match. No one has ever done this, to have an American division and a European division for arena football. So certainly excited to be the first. So obviously we have big aspirations, but we're trying to be realistic for what is our first year in an expansion league. Cool. Any other questions?
What type of players succeed in American football?
I think that's for your
Come
coach.
again?
What type of players succeed in American football?
What type of players succeeded in arena football? Hungry players. Players who want it. You know, players who have something to prove. Because the opportunity that these players over here have, Scotland, to play against Americans, been playing arena football forever and a day. That's a push. That's what makes you hungry. Knowing that you have an opportunity to play against the best, where the sport originated from, and to prove that there's ballers all over the world. That's what Glasgow Tartans want to show, that there are ballers in Scotland, hungry ones with the vicious mentality, like Sean. He wants to bring the physicality from Scotland to other countries.
And I think, to that point, it's important, right? No one's at a disadvantage in terms of like the education of the game, because it's our first year. Arena football has not been played here. And coach can speak to this, and the coaches that we're hiring stateside can speak to this as well. It's a different skill set to play arena football. In one sense, right, and coach and I were talking about this, in one sense, we're not immune to the fact that like players like Sean that want to make it, and make it to the bigger stages of professional sports, like they need game tape, they need game film. So we understand that at the end of the day, arena football is a form of football and will help you. I think any exposure to professional football will help you get to the next logical level. We hope it's here, but we're not immune to the fact that this might be a league that someone gets game film in and gets, spotted by a different league. We're okay with that, right? Definitely not the goal. But in terms of proving yourself in arena football, you are not up against an education barrier, because we are starting at square one. So, as much as we can find, we have coaches in Dusseldorf and Stuttgart, and those guys, coaches getting all juiced up competitively, because those guys think they have some more players with American football backgrounds. They have not played arena football, save for the couple of players we're considering exporting in from America, which is, again, the exception, not the norm. So, if you're an athlete, right, we want you in this league. We want you thinking about it. We want you, involved in this. And coach is going to coach you up. There's plenty of game film, but I know coach is excited. Not to get into the stuff that we talked about behind the scenes, but like Glasgow, speaking about this market in particular, like we're not competing against the same type of American football crowd. So like, while in one sense it's a barrier that we have to do a little bit more education than a Germany or Nottingham that have more of that background, like this is a brand new sport, and we have no other, again, I don't want to speak out of turn, but we have very little competition on the pro side for this.
What makes it even more interesting is it's an even playing ground. Because as Dan said, no one over here has played arena football. No one. So that levels the playing field. Everyone is starting from scratch. Now, what we do with that is another thing. These players want it, they're going to go get it. If they don't want it, then hey, it's not good.
Coach, before we'd be remiss, can you speak a little bit about your track record, the reason that we thought to recruit you from all your successes?
So, originally I started out as a player, played college at Oklahoma State, came to Europe, played a little arena football, played in the China Arena Football League, but I've been a player throughout Denmark, or coaching Denmark, coaching Czech Republic, player in Hungary, Germany, Austria, Serbia, Finland. So I've coached, I understand, I know how to coach European players. I love football. You can call me at 3 o'clock in the morning and we can talk football. Okay? So for myself, my accolades, my accomplishments, it hasn't stopped me from getting to where I really want. You know, so this type of league is somewhere I really want to go.
Yeah, and I'll echo what Coach said. Coach said earlier, we're not just taking guys off the street that are violent. You know, Sean, we did our background on Sean. We think Sean's going to be a great success in the league. Some say that Sean has a face for radio, but I would disagree. I think Sean is fantastic for what we're doing. Sean, no, I'm just messing. Sean, do you have anything to add before we steal the shot?
I'd say it's just like a brilliant opportunity for all, and like a way I'd like describe it as almost like a fast-paced action. Is like if you've got like rugby sevens, there's a faster version of rugby. If you've done that and then put in a five-a-side football pitch, so when you're hitting someone, like it's gonna make a mark. Do you know what I mean? And it will be a very interesting game to watch from the clips you've seen, the clips I've saw. Like quite excited for the challenge of it. To be fair, and would recommend anyone, rugby players, American football players, even football players, to come along and have a go at it.
And then I'll just say this, and I'm not sure we have any questions after, but you know, we did our homework on Coach. You know, there are, you know, really two skill sets that you need to be successful in a European arena league, right? You need to have, in theory, arena experience, right? Or European coaching experience and how to recruit players in Europe. So we're not blind to the fact that if we brought an American arena coach with no history in recruiting in Europe, that would be a different animal. But you know, Coach here, you know, he's very he's being very modest about his accomplishments, but he's had a very strong track record recruiting in Europe. He knows this. I got to the airport. I say, "How do we get to the arena?" He goes, "There's a bus. We could take the cab." I didn't have any cash. He has the cash. So this man knows Europe. He was excited. I said, when we spoke, we had a couple markets that he could have coached in. We wanted him kind of have him make a decision, and I said Glasgow, and I probably could have filled in the blank. He was ready to jump on a plane and go anywhere. And we booked your flight on very short notice. He said, when and where, I'll show up, I'm there. And without really much guidance, has already started to reach out to players. So if you're a player, you're playing football, be on the lookout. Coach might be dropping into your DMs, and if he hasn't, you should be dropping in Coach's DMs. You want to say your handle? Are we allowed to do that?
Truly7 Blessed on Instagram.
Okay. There's a lot of pretenders, okay? But he's the real Truly7 Blessed.
You know, speaking on what Dan said about different organizations, I like Scotland due to the fact that I know how people think. There is no football players in Scotland. I want to prove people wrong. So I'm super excited to be here. Like, I'm ready to go right now. That's how excited I am. I would like to prove Europe and the world wrong. Scotland has some ballers. We can go out there in kilts and our tartan hats. We can make it happen. Sean is one of the first pieces to the puzzle for us.
How many players have you got signed in the roster?
How many?
How many players have you currently got signed?
So right now, I have about, I don't know if I should tell you, because I would just say I did get another Scottish player, quarterback. Unfortunately, he wasn't available today, but I am hitting the market locally. And mind you, I call these guys on their phone.
3 in the morning.
3 in the morning. I talk to his mother, not Sean's, but the quarterback's mother.
You'll be speaking to Sean's mom shortly, too.
And that's how I ended up getting his phone number, actually. So, like I said, I'm not really get out there in the community to get guys. To show Europe that Scotland means business.
Okay, do we have any other questions? Okay, thanks everyone for coming out. This has been fantastic. And we'll hang around if anyone has any kind of questions offline. But yeah, thank you very much.